welcome to the regular board meeting of the Sunshine Coast Regional District of Thursday, September 9th, 2021. I'd like to acknowledge that the Sunshine Coast Regional District operates on the traditional territories of the Seashelt and the Squamish First Nations, and we're very grateful to be here. I am going to call us to order at 2:02 p.m., and in front of us we do have an amended agenda. But prior to starting and approving and adopting this amended agenda, I'm going to use my my purview as chair, and I'd just like to address the community on a couple of things. We've seen a high level of community frustration in the past few weeks with several complicating issues that we've had on the Sunshine Coast. And one of the things I would like to say is that attacks on our staff at all levels of government will not be tolerated. Yelling, disparaging comments, whether it be on the phone, at public meetings, or flyers on vehicles, rude comments on social media, or towards frontline staff is not appropriate to be directing at our staff. They are fulfilling their jobs following policies set by government and obligations relating to such. Secondly, as your elected representatives, we are your neighbors. We live and work in your community, as does our staff. We are your friends. We run and own businesses here. We've raised children here, and we work here as volunteers. We are all doing our best to move things forward as quickly as we can, and we own the decisions of our board, this board, and all of those board decisions that were made before us. We take this decision-making responsibility very seriously. I've been on the Sunshine Coast myself for 27 years ago, actually this week, and we recognize that community frustration is high. It's probably one of the highest levels I have ever seen. We ask that you remember that we are also frustrated as we move through these processes as well. And we ask that you work with us and be patient with us and communicate respectfully to help continue positive dialogue and change moving forward. And once again, we thank you all for your patience as we do move this forward as a community together. We have a lot of big issues that have been happening here on our coast. But as I've said before, any disrespect of our staff will not be tolerated, and please remember your manners when you're speaking with them. Thank you. With that, I would like to move into an adoption of the agenda, please. As I said, we have an amended agenda with some late items that were added earlier today. Directors, may I have a motion to adopt the amended agenda, please? So moved Director Mcmahon, seconded Director Beamish. Are there any other items that need to be added to this prior to or to the amended agenda? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. I'm going to ask for a motion to receive all minutes, reports, and communications, please. So moved Director Seegers, seconded Director McMahon. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Next up, we have some minutes from previous meetings. We've already received these, so we'll go through these one by one. The first up are the regular board meeting minutes of July 22nd, 2021. This is Annex A, pages 1 through 9 of our package. Directors, are there any errors, omissions, changes, additions, subtractions that need to be made to these minutes? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the regular board meeting minutes of July 22nd, 2021. So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Next up, number 3 on our agenda, Annex B, pages 10 to 14 of our package, is the special board meeting minutes of August 16th, 2021. Directors, are there any errors, omissions, changes, additions that need to be done to these minutes prior to adoption? Seeing none, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the special board meeting minutes of August 16th, 2021, please. So moved Director Ties, seconded Director Hiltz. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Next up, the Special Emergency Board meeting minutes of August 17th, 2021, Annex C, pages 15 through 18 of the package. Directors, any errors, omissions, additions, subtractions before we adopt the minutes of August 17th? Seeing none, I'll call the question, or pardon me, I'll ask for a motion to adopt these minutes of August 17th, please. So moved Director Mcmahon, seconded Director Toth. All those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. Next up, Annex D, pages 19 to 20 of the package, the Special Emergency Board meeting minutes of August 27th, 2021, item 5 on our agenda. Directors, are there any errors, omissions, additions, subtractions that need to be done to these minutes prior to adoption? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to adopt the meeting minutes of August 27th, 2021. So moved Director McMahon, seconded Director Hiltz. All those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. Is there any business arising from the minutes or unfinished business? Seems like a lifetime ago that we had these meetings, even though they were only a few days. I'm not seeing anyone. We have no presentations or delegations today. We do have some reports coming up. So the first one is item 6 on our agenda package, or Annex E, pages 21 to 24. And this is the Corporate and Administrative Services Committee recommendation packages, numbers 1 through 8 of July 22nd, 2021. Directors, before we adopt these recommendations, are there any that you would like to pull out to debate separately? Director McMahon.
Sorry, my bad. I note that number 9 was previously adopted, so we're good.
You're good? Okay. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt the recommendations of CAS of July 22nd, 2021, please. So moved Director McMahon, seconded Director Seegers. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. Next up, number 7, our agenda package, Annex F, pages 25 through 28, and it's the Planning and Community Development Committee recommendations, numbers 1 through 12 of September 2nd, 2021. Directors, would you like to pull out any of these recommendations for further debate prior to adoption of the package? Okay, seeing no one raising a hand here, I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt the recommendations of September 2nd, 2021 as a block. So moved Director Toth, seconded by Director Hiltz. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. Next up, we have the item that was added on from earlier today, and this is pages 28A to B of our package, and it's the Infrastructure Services Committee recommendations, numbers 1 through 5 of earlier today. Directors, are there any of these that you would like to debate separately before we adopt the recommendations as a block? Okay, I'm not seeing any movement here, so I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt the recommendations of the Infrastructure Services Committee of September 9th, 2021, numbers 1 through 5. May I have that motion, please? Director Seegers, seconded by Director Toth. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. Great. Next up, on our communications, Annex G of our package, page 29, we have Karen Spicer, a letter from Karen Spicer for the Roberts Creek Community Association. Director Ties, being that this is within your community, would you like to address this, or would anyone else at this time?
Yeah, thank you. I would love to. The Roberts Creek Community Association is asking for a letter of support for their grant writing applications, and I would like to make a motion that the SCRD board writes a letter of support for the Roberts Creek Community Association, outlining its importance to the Roberts Creek community and its need for financial support. And hoping that that motion should be sufficient.
Okay. I see Director McMahon has seconded that motion. I'll look to our corporate officer for a thumbs up that works for her. Thumbs up. That's perfect. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Great. Next up, Annex H, page 30 to 32 of the package. And this is motion number 9 on your agenda package. It's a notice of motion for a proposal for property line adjustment. And so this is going over to Director Ties. I'll send it over to you to introduce this.
Yes, thank you. I've been in discussions with the Roberts Creek Community Association as well as with the Sunshine Coast Masonic Society, and as I'm sure most of you are aware, that those two are adjacent properties, and both halls were built back in the day when surveying tools weren't all that fantastic, and the Roberts Creek Hall was actually built on the property line, or just slightly over the property line to the Masons, and therefore does not have appropriate setback. And the Masonic Hall is actually right on the edge of the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure right of way for the Highway 101. And so this proposal here is to rectify the situation a little bit and to get into discussions with the Masonic Society as well as with the Roberts Creek Community Association to see whether we can move some of the property lines, because especially the Roberts Creek Hall is not going anywhere anytime soon. It's a heritage building, and it should in fact have the appropriate setbacks to it, which would also enable the community to maybe get some access to the park behind both the hall and the Masonic Hall or the Masonic Lodge, which is currently not possible because MOTI won't give us access off the highway. So we have sort of a park back there that is not accessible by vehicle at this point in time because of access issues. So I've endeavored to create the following motion: that staff investigates the included proposal and provides feedback, including further information regarding future property width should the Masons choose to relocate their hall, and the property line adjacent to the RCCA is moved 15 to 20 feet, considering that the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure will claim some of the land on the northern edge if the hall is moved. And that staff reports back on the process of transferring park property to the Masonic Society to compensate them for the property line adjustment. I'm open to questions at this point.
Would you like to officially move that at this point, or wait until we have questions on it first?
Well, if there's no questions, I don't see any hands up. I will make that motion at this point and see if somebody is willing to second that.
Well, you have a seconder. So thank you, Director McMahon. Are there any further questions for Director Ties? I see Director Hiltz, please.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I was interested in the comment about a right-of-way access to the park. There looks like there is a right-of-way that goes between the parks, which is treed. And is this to remove right away from SCRD Park, or I'm not sure who's going to give up land?
So yeah, there is a Ministry of Transportation right away. It's just south of the Roberts Creek Hall, and that dissects the park, the SCRD park in the back. Currently, about half of that right away is being used as a parking lot for the hall, and the property adjustment would be to on the western edge of the Masonic Hall, or the Masonic property, and to extend that a little bit further into the current park to adjust for the extra 15 to 20 feet that that the Roberts Creek Community Association would receive from the Masons. So essentially, it would be a property swap. And that's sort of the idea behind it. We haven't quite decided yet whether that's a 1-to-1 and whether the resulting property for the Masons is actually going to be wide enough to build a new hall for them after that adjustment, because it looks like the Ministry of Transportation Infrastructure would take a chunk out of the northern edge as well if the current Masonic Hall were to be relocated. So these are some of the questions that need to get answered by staff, and that's sort of what this motion entails.
Director Hills, does that answer your questions?
Yeah, so a property line would be a subdivision of the private property owned by the Masonic Hall and the Roberts Creek Community Association. Is that how it would be framed?
I think it would just be called a property line adjustment, you'd have to talk to planning staff for technicalities.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on this? Any comments or questions from staff at this point, or? Nope. Okay. All right. I will call the question. All those in favor, please. Thank you. Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries. Thank you very much, Director Ties, for bringing this forward. Up next, we have no bylaws today. Yay. But we do have director's reports, and we're going to go with the volunteer system again for director's reports. So Director Seegers, off the gate, you are number one.
Thank you. This is going to be really quick. I'm going to leave Director Toth to report on the District of Sechelt items. I was away on vacation. I did check in and watch the videos of the meetings that you had while I was gone. But other than that, I have nothing to report. It was great to get away.
Well, and jealous that you were able to get away, Director Seegers. Up next, I have Director Beamish and then Director Ties.
Yeah, thank you. I have little to report, except that I think I was in the office every day in August, so that I have not been away. But I am going to be away the week after UBCM. So that means that I will miss the board meeting, so David will sit in for me on that. Nothing significant to report in Gibson's. We had our first council meeting the other day, and UBCM meetings are going well. We have a full schedule. I think collectively we have 21 meetings, if I'm not mistaken, and they are being checked off slowly but surely. And then the next week of both Councillor D'Andrade and I will be at UBCM. Council did approve the contribution from our COVID funds to support the repairs at the Sechelt pool on Tuesday night, so that information and a check will be coming to the regional district. But apart from that, welcome back, Darnella Seegers.
Great. Thank you, Director Beamish. Up next, I have Director Ties and then Director Toth.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I wanted to say thank you to Chair Pratt for voicing some of my concerns at the beginning of the meeting regarding the general tone in public, which seems to be not only be happening on social media anymore, but it seems to be spilling into the real world, and it really makes it more difficult for both staff and elected officials to get into a good space and to appreciate what they're doing. And I could say more to this, but I'm going to refrain from that at this point. But yeah, I've answered a lot of emails and concerns and phone calls around garbage, and I thank staff for putting together that press release, which answers a lot of the questions and concerns that we had, or that I received. And since then, things have died down to some extent. And yeah, we've had a couple of challenging public hearings in the last little bit, and I'm also happy to report that staff and I are going to make sure that we get it right in the future, and that we're going to move forward and do the right thing. So thank you, staff, for your support. Thank you, Lori, for chairing an amazing public hearing that will have to be done again. So we'll see you there. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Director Ties. That was a long public hearing, but I'm glad I get the challenging ones. Between short-term rentals and that one was that was a long one, 3.5 hours. So that was it was epic. Next up, I have Director Toth and then Director Hiltz.
Thank you, Chair. I was entirely expecting Director Seegers to speak to everything, so I didn't have any notes here. So I'll do what I can, and then we'll see what I miss. We also saw the request from the SCRD for some COVID contributions. We have referred it to our staff, in support of doing this. Staff just have to look at, what mechanisms and what have you. So that will be coming back to us again. We got our first look at a market rental housing project being proposed in Seashelt by TELUS. So that's going to be on Inlet Avenue, right in our downtown core. And TELUS is proposing to build 60 units of market rental housing, primarily 1 and 2 bedroom units, with a little bit of commercial space. So that's where the TELUS Exchange is, and the Cozy Court Motel, right across from the medical clinic there on Inlet Avenue. So just permission to proceed. It's early days. They still have a lot of work ahead of them. But yeah, very, very supportive of any rental housing that we can get moving through the system. We also had the Ebbtide rental development come back. So it's going to be moving forward through our process as well. And that's another 28 units of market rental housing. That's really all I had district to Seashelt wise that I came up with there quickly. I did a couple things there during the month while the mayor was away and what have you, but nothing terribly interesting for the rest of the directors. Thank you, Chair, for your comments about the attitudes, the abuse. Staff get it when they shouldn't be. We get it. There's a lot of people that say, "Oh, well, you signed up for this," and blah blah blah. And it's like, no, we don't sign up to take time away from our families and our jobs to be, verbally and written, harassed, and abused by members of the public or anybody, regardless of the topic. I've had ups and downs through this, almost 3 years now. And anytime when it's really bad for my mental health, it's always because of abuse from the public. I don't care if you disagree with me. I don't care if you disagree with a decision we've made. Criticize it. That's fine. But don't attack me. Don't attack my fellow directors. Don't attack our staff. It's not acceptable. I've had some conversations with people being like, are you going to run again? And at this point, I tell people if I had to decide right now, the answer would be no. And it's because of some of the garbage that we have to deal with. I hope that changes. I would like to give consideration to running again next year, but it's unacceptable. And while I am happy to speak to anybody who wants to run about some of the work that it entails and things like that, I will be honest about the assaults and the garbage that we also have to deal with. So yeah, that's really all I had to say today. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Toth. I know it's been tough. So next up, I have Director Hiltz and then Director Lee.
Thanks, Chair. August is come and gone. Yeah, hard to believe. It was nice to have a reduced load, although I think this is probably a record for emergency meetings of the SCRD in August, I think. So it was an unusual August. So I was able to make an annual trip over to Gambier Island to the JICA Community Association. That's the Gambier Island Community Association. I think it's their 76th AGM. It was indoors and in person outdoors. And the topics, docs and emergency preparedness were pretty fixed in their minds as significant topics. One of the things that was useful, though, is because of the gap in time, there was projects that were started even in 2019, 2020 with Ministry of Transportation, and they kind of stopped during 2020. So was able to reconnect with the new Modi people, and even the SCRD, I understand, have changes within their GIS department. There's been some change, so reconnecting people and getting those projects reinitiated, and connecting them up with TELUS. It has been the presentations from TELUS, particularly around the Twin Creeks Tower, connecting TELUS with the JICA community in order to understand what their expectations are for wireless service. So it was a useful meeting to talk about. August was constituent comments, curbside pickup, and Airbnbs were pretty common topics that were coming in. Be ready for a press release in September 15th, which is hoping for the announcement of the How Sound Alkitsum Biosphere nomination results should be coming in on September 15th. And last, I just wanted to say thanks to GM Gagnon. Together we did a virtual tour of Area F with screen sharing and Google Earth, and had kind of a nice chat of, it's hard to get to all the places in Area F within an hour. So we did it virtually, and thanks for taking a little bit of a risk in going that way, but it was fun. So thank you for that. So I'll stop there, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Hiltz. Up next, I have Director Lee and then Director McMahon.
Thank you, Chair. The reason I was a little late signing in is because I was busy writing my director's report well ahead of time. Usual for me, I guess. I'd like to start with that it was a very, very busy summer all over, I guess, for everybody. I kind of jealous at Mayor Seeger's ability to take a couple-week holidays. Congratulations. That was cool. Mine amounted to one day in Victoria visiting a relative and one day fishing, but both were great days. There's a little bit of an issue with the Egmonton District Volunteer Fire Department. We have to increase the maximum tax requisition. It wasn't enough to cover some decisions we made. And I found it a very interesting and worthwhile exercise. Putting a presentation together right now from a novice point of view and that's from my point of view. I was surprised how much I didn't know about our fire departments. And I guess it was a forced learning experience, because having to increase the maximum tax requisition immediately brings the fire department up in everybody's minds. And as soon as you start discussions about that, well, we kind of know what happens. Everything that's been saved up comes out to the front. But things I found, like I thought I'd mention to everybody, is that you got to put new tires on a truck based on age. Nothing to do with whether they're wore out or anything else. It's just, oh, they're 5 years old, you need new tires. Those are costs that you'd never know, you'd never even think about. The fact that there's so many emergency response activities outside of structural fires, never thought about that much. You just assume the fire department's going to come and save you if you're in trouble, and so then you get into a debate. Should we be paying for that kind of a response, or should the province be paying for it? It's a legitimate debate, but when you look into it, that debate's going all over North America, that same debate. And the conclusion always is, in the rural fire departments, yes, they're knowledgeable, they're there, they're 24 hours, and there's lots of good reasons for doing it. And so I ended up deciding in my own mind, yeah, that's a real cool thing for our fire departments. Not to mention that it's good training and it keeps them on their toes. And the training requirements, I never thought much about a training requirement, but there's mandated training requirements, and then there's training requirements for the fire department's own goals. Things like emergency first aid training, that's basically the first thing they're trained on. But so then you say, why? Well, it's pretty straightforward when you start thinking about it. They need to rescue their own guys in the case of a fire. They need to rescue the people that are involved in the fire. And as a sideline, they're then trained in emergency first aid to when they go to those accidents. It's so many good things. And then the last thing that really came to mind, and I had never thought about it, and that is the link to my insurance rates. My insurance rates is a whole bunch lower because I have a fire department. I always thought that the amount I paid per year for a fire department was really good. I thought it was kind of cheap. Then I find out that I'm really paying nothing. I'm getting the whole thing back in my insurance discounts. Gee, it really woke me up. So I don't know what going forward. I found it very interesting for me. I suspect guys like Andreas already knew all this stuff, but for this novice, it was an eye-opener. It made me appreciate our fire department so much more. Then I have to thank staff for their support for the North and South Pender Let's Talk Water. It was very much appreciated in my community. And it not only for the questions it answered, but it prompted discussions in the community on the future of our water system and where we're going and where we want to go. And that was great. So it was very, very worthwhile. And I had it pointed out to me that I didn't include Egmont and Earls Cove in the discussion, and I never really thought about it because they're regional water. But I guess because they're on different water systems, they kind of feel overwhelmed and don't have the opportunity to ask their questions. And so I was thinking, well, I need to do something about that in the future. But that'll be next year. A little late now. So that was what I wanted to talk about, except I wanted to say a big thanks to our staff for the extraordinary work they did in responding to things that are beyond our control in the water world. Who knew there was such a thing as a heat dome? Who knew that this was the year we were going to go the longest forever without significant water? I guess we were rolling the dice, but it was nothing of our making. And I was proud of the way they figured out ways to get us so that we are going to have enough water, whether it was a new siphon in Edwards Lake, whether it's bringing on the creeks earlier. They did a great job, and I think it's being overlooked in all this yelling and screaming about why we are here. So I think the community owes you thanks for the work you did and the response you put forward over what normally is our holiday period. Anyways, that's me. Thanks a lot for listening.
Thank you, Director Lee. Up next, I have Director Mcmahon, please.
Yes, I wasn't really prepared. Do you realize that the last time we gave board reports was July the 22nd? And a lot has happened since. I will summarize by saying that it was not the summer I had planned. I suspect that's true for pretty much everybody else. My summer was mostly about garbage, water, and getting calls from federal election pollsters, which I'm thoroughly tired of by this time. I'm also tired of schlepping water from the bathroom and the kitchen to water my vegetable garden. I'm sure everybody is. But, you know, my community has really been pitching in, and I'm very glad to see the considerable interest in rainwater capture and a lot of discussions on social media and over the back fence about how quickly people's rainwater capture has filled up, even when we get a relatively modest amount of rain. So now, of course, I'm thinking that it's about time I got some rain barrels too. I attended the Elphinstone Community Association picnic and the Ocean Beach Esplanade Neighborhood Association potluck. And let's see. I was particularly interested, I shared with the other members of the board the information about a new, Health Canada has created an online reporting form for members of the public to report unsafe, egregious, or unauthorized behavior for both licensed and unlicensed cannabis facilities. So, you know, folks in the community have concerns about grows. There is now a place at least to report them, and I'll have that link in my next newsletter. It's long overdue, I guess I could say. I'd like to give a really big thanks to my alternate director, Lucy McKiernan, for attending this morning the UBCM briefing on the finance paper for local government, because of course we were in meetings this morning, and so she not only attended, but she's sent me a very thorough report, which is great, and I'll be sharing it with the rest of you. Finally, I should probably mention that I am teaching an Elder College course on regional districts. It is entitled A Highly Opinionated Introduction to Regional Districts. And I can promise you that I will deliver on the opinions. I am not an expert on regional districts, save by virtue of being plunged into it by being elected. But I'm not claiming to be. And I think we will have some really interesting conversations, particularly in view of a lot of conversations that are going on right now about the need to update regional district legislation. And so I look forward to a lively conversation with the people who sign up. And I am recruiting guest speakers for my course, by the way. So you never know, I might hit you up for, or if you want to volunteer, if you really feel that you also need to give some highly opinionated information on regional districts, talk to me. We can work something out here. So thanks very much, everyone.
Did everybody's screens all of a sudden go blank on yours, Donna? Like, step back? No, I think I'd be more than happy to volunteer anytime you'd like to hear my opinions, because, why not? But anyways, thank you all, directors. I myself also actually had a very busy August. Half Moon Bay had a couple of really great events going on, one of which was the Seaside Shuffle, which was hosted by the Half Moon Bay Community Association in Cooper's Green Park. And it was before the mask mandate came back into effect. And it was really neat yet odd to have that many people in a big, large group. But it was a fantastic event. Lots of live music, beer garden, all kinds of food, and swimming off of the beach. And it was a tremendously well-attended afternoon event, and just huge hands up and gratitude to the Half Moon Bay Community Association and all of their group of volunteers for doing that in that space of time before we started seeing an uptick in our numbers and mask mandates and everything coming back into play. I've also attended the Half Moon Bay Environmental Society had their AGM, and I was there as their guest, as one of their speakers, and speaking on a few things that they had for questions on what's going on at the regional district. That was it was a well-attended event as well. Have had some conversations with Modi regarding a few issues that are happening in the Half Moon Bay area. So hopefully we can have some resolutions to some of those issues that have been brought forward by constituents that don't fall under the regional district, but definitely fall under constituent concerns in our area. With Director Mcmahon, we had a tour of the community forest, or part of the community forest in the proposed logging area just at Trout Lake with Chief Forester Warren Hansen and Chair of the Board Kathleen Sudis. And that was a really good, informative walk. Right, Director Mcmahon, we both really enjoyed that, as well as getting the overview from Warren on what they're looking at moving forward with the community forest and the whole forest, looking at the whole forest as a whole rather than and looking at the different levels of the forest and the different recovery times of the forest rather than one species at a time. It's looking at the whole picture. And so that was really interesting. I was very pleased to attend Town of Gibson's emergency council meeting, special council meeting, where they agreed to share water with the regional district. So I just wanted to say thank you so much, Mayor Beamish and Town of Gibson's, and that working together, Team Sunshine Coast working together and making things happen for the betterment of our community as a whole, and just so happy with how our staffs all work together amongst all levels of government here on the coast, and how our elected are working together to make things happen. And that tags into my last item with the ministry meetings that we've been having this week, which continue into next week. They're all peppered throughout the calendar, and some very interesting conversation pieces that are happening. I think probably the biggest one that I'd really was happy to have the meeting with Forest Lands Natural Resource Minister Katrine Conroy on, was that Tuesday already? And be able to really speak very strongly, not just about Church Road, but also about looking forward to the Langdale well going forward, and reiterating how important this is for our community, and how the community is feeling a lot of frustration around these processes, and being able to communicate that directly with the minister as well as ministry staff. And we'll hopefully be following up with that with just some of our notes going back and making sure that they're fully aware that our community is pretty upset too. So, so that's one level that we can advocate for our community as a whole, is making sure that that message is put forward to the decision makers, that we don't fortunately get to make a decision at that point, because it's up to the ministry. So anyways, I do feel very good about that, about the meetings that we've had so far, and hopefully we'll continue to have positive meetings for the rest of this week and through to next. And thank you to our member municipalities for allowing directors to be welcome at your meetings. It's really valuable to hear. And I will say it was also great earlier today, sitting in on the library funding meeting and being able to hear our chief librarian from Gibson's and our library director from Seashelt be able to speak directly with Minister Osborne about the complications from the COVID-19 pandemic, and about what kind of services that they're actually providing in our communities that are beyond their mandate, because they've been dropped by other levels of government. So they become a Service Canada site, they become a Service BC site, they become a support system. And how COVID-19 and a pandemic has really highlighted how important it is to have libraries. And when Director Leanne Emery, director of Seashelt Library, was able to say, we stayed open one extra day and were astounded at the number of books that were taken out on that extra day. And she was actually able to give the stats right directly there to the minister. So that was pretty fantastic. So feeling good so far, and we know we can't get promises, but we can certainly make sure our voices are heard as a collective. So thank you to everyone for participating, and thank you so much for the staff support on that, on all of these meetings as well, because we get significant amount of support, not just from Tracy, but also our senior leadership team and our managers. And we really appreciate all of the background work that's been done, so that we sound very clear in our objectives and our asks. So thank you all for that. So with that, that's the end of our director's reports. We have no new business unless something has populated from our staff in the meantime, or directors have anything else they wanted to add. Seeing it has been over a month since their last director's reports, if you had anything you wanted to add, unless I talk really fast and don't allow you in, but I'll use my privilege as chair of just moving on. We will be making a motion to go in camera, and then answering any questions from our gallery, if any have come in. So anyways, I'd like to ask for a motion that the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with section 91A, F, G, I, and K of the Community Charter. Moved Director Mcmahon, seconded Director Siebers. All those in favor? Thank you, motion carries. With that, have any questions come in from online? No? And we don't have anybody in the boardroom? Nope.
No questions.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to does everybody need like 2 minutes just to secure their space and put up signs on the boardroom doors, etc.?
2.
And welcome back, and thank you to everyone who has remained with us for this regular board meeting of September 9th, 2021. And with that, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn. So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Have any questions come in? No questions?
No
Great.
questions.
I was going to follow up with when my mom and I went to visit the Netherlands. My daughter had been living there for a year